Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for another Ask Us Anything webinar. So today joining me is Shelley Phung,
Hi, everyone.
and we're both going to be talking about your job search and social media. So before we begin, I'm just going to go over some logistics and then we'll head on to our presentation. Thank you for joining us today, Shelley.
No problem. My pleasure to be here.
So my name is Sonia Siddiqi. I'm an employment consultant here at ACCES, and I've been here for almost 3 years. And I started off as an employment consultant in a bridging program, and I've moved into this new role in online services with Shelley. So Shelley, you want to quickly tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I've been at ACCES for just over 6 months, actually, so a little bit newer. And it's been such a pleasure to be part of the online services department, bringing everyone webinars and all those online events that we were talking about. It feels really rewarding to be able to help everyone and to kind of bring this information from all over the world, right? So it's my pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to our webinar today.
So we're going to head on to our presentation, and where we're going to be answering some of the questions that you've asked us, and thank you for sending us your questions and regarding social media. So Shelley, I'll hand it off to
Yeah.
you.
Okay, so to start off, what is social media? So social media can be defined broadly as forms of interactive computer-mediated technologies that allow individuals to communicate and share information, ideas, interests, and other forms of expression through virtual communities and networks. So social media and social networking are the in trend right now in our business and in our personal lives. We humans like to connect with each other, and we have so many ways to do that now because of social media. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, Pinterest, WordPress, Tumblr, and on, and that's just to name a few. But social media has also now become what we call a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it can help you with your job search, or on the other hand, it can hurt you. And this all has to do with our job search.
So how do employers use social media? Social media has become a very fast and cheap background check that is often done before inviting a job applicant for an interview. Employers search social media to verify the facts on resumes, to check out knowledge and attitudes expressed publicly. So be careful with that when you do express yourself publicly. And they use it to evaluate your communication skills. So sometimes, a lot of times, there's so many different types of Facebook settings. You might think that it's very private, but it might not be. So you might want to check, what you've posted, what you've shared, and what your communication skills look like online as well. And same goes with LinkedIn. You'd be surprised. I've seen some ridiculous things on LinkedIn that people are sharing. So make sure when you're sharing on LinkedIn, it's strictly professional. Employers also use social media to find qualified applicants, often a faster and cheaper method of identifying good job candidates than posting a job. So sometimes recruiters have a job in mind, or hiring managers have a job in mind, but before they post it, they start looking to see what kind of candidates that they will be getting in. So, you might just end up on their search radar as well. So that's why make sure that your skills are always up to date on LinkedIn, because that's usually how it's matched. And you can tell a lot about a person's character depending on what they choose to post online, whether they're just pictures, comments, posts you've shared, or even worse, posts that you've been tagged in. So that's something that, is maybe public, because your friends might have tagged you in something maybe 10 years ago when you were much younger and carefree. So be very careful. I've heard employers tell us horror stories about, I could share one right now. There was this one candidate. He seemed perfectly, able to do the job. He stood out and everything, but they checked his Facebook. Everything was private, except there was a picture taken a long time ago, but it showed up as a reason. Like, it showed up right on his Facebook only because someone else had tagged him. That was the only picture you could see, and you could see a lot of him in the picture and his friends.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was
Mm.
it was a
Mm.
it was like a university joke or something, but very unprofessional. And they said that
Mhm.
they didn't call him in for an interview. So this is something that we've heard from employers, straight from employers. So be very
Mhm.
careful about what you're posting and what you're liking, because they can see. So Sonia liked so and so on Facebook. So be careful what you're liking and what you're saying. You might have opinions on certain things, and someone's arguing on Facebook. You don't want to be one of those people who go on Facebook just just to start fights and arguments or anything like that. So make sure that you stay away from all of that. It's good for you anyway. It's good for your soul.
Perfect. So we know that employers are using social media. Now the question is, what are employers looking for when it comes to social media? So social recruiting is now a thing when it comes to hiring candidates. There's a statistic that 3 in 10 employers have someone dedicated solely to getting the scoop on your online persona. So employers are searching for a few key items when researching their candidates via social media networking sites, and they basically look for information that supports their qualifications for the job. So 61% do this. They want to see if what you're posting online matches the qualifications of the job that they're hiring for. If the candidate has a professional online persona at all, so 50%, so they might put your name in Google and see if anything comes up, if you have a Facebook, or if you have a LinkedIn, or if you have maybe something else going on. They want to make sure that whatever online persona you have, that it's professional. So they also look at 37% look at what other people are posting about the candidates. So this might be very popular on LinkedIn as well. There's actually a section for other individuals to kind of write recommendations about you on your LinkedIn profile. So oftentimes employers will take a look and see, what are other people saying about this candidate? And this might kind of reflect in Facebook as well, which might be a little bit more scary if your Facebook profile is public and your friends can say whatever they want on there. So as Sonia was saying earlier, make sure you're very careful with the posts that you're tagged in online. So 24% also look for just any reason at all not to hire a candidate. They just kind of go on there and seeing if they can find something that's maybe negative or just anything at all that might kind of give them a clue that maybe you're not the right candidate. So again, being very careful what you post on social media is extremely important. And 70% of employers use social media to screen candidates before hiring in general. So that's 70%. That's a lot of employers out there who are Googling you, checking out your LinkedIn, checking out your Facebook, checking out your Twitter or whatever social media you have out there. It's also maybe not a good thing if you have nothing at all. So, the other end of it might be, the employer is like, oh, why doesn't this person have anything at all? So that's something to keep in mind as well. So if you are using social media, if you're on there, make sure you're professional. And this statistic has been up significantly from 60% last year and 11% in 2006. So we've really seen a growing trend of more and more employers out there looking you up online, using social media as a tool and a resource to find the best candidates and the candidates that are right for their organization. So whatever you're posting out there, make sure you're being careful.
Thank you, Shelley. So I'm just going to talk about quickly about what is social media etiquette. As we see the numbers in how important social media is, as Shelley spoke about it, we will go through some do's and don'ts to help you ensure that you are presenting yourself well and strategically online. We have heard so many stories of people posting things online that results in them not getting the job, or even worse, fired from their existing jobs. So let's get started.
So I briefly mentioned this earlier. One of the first things you should do when looking at your social media profile is to Google yourself. Literally put your name in there. So you should actually Google yourself every so often, maybe every few months, just to make sure that nothing has come up that maybe you don't want to be there, and just to ensure that you have that professional profile. So you can start by just Googling your name, then maybe your name and the city you're in. And then even you can put in your email addresses. That also puts and pulls up a different set of results sometimes that might be something that you need to consider or look at. You can try looking up your old usernames too. So a lot of us, had email for a while. Maybe we started when we were a little bit younger and a little bit more carefree, and we just wanted to kind of have a cool username. You maybe even type that up and see if that's attached to anything that's attached to your name now. And when you're Googling yourself, you should go back at least 10 pages. Really kind of go through and make sure that what is online is positive, or maybe it's something that you put online a long time ago and for some reason it's still up and you don't want it to be up. So make sure you're kind of doing a very clear and thorough search of yourself. And this will give you an idea of kind of being on the employer's perspective. So when they type in your name, what do they see? What kind of comes up? So you want to make sure you're also checking images as well. So go into Google. So just the all page, there will be a lot of things that come up, and then you might want to go into images too to see if any like photos that you've been tagged in for some reason are showing up in the Google searches. So you just want to be careful with that. So this does take a little bit of time to do. So it is important that you do it because, again, you want to know what your online presence is looking like. You want to know, what other employers are going to see and how it can hurt or help you with your job search.
The next point here is that you should audit your online presence. So it's also important to regularly audit your social media accounts. This means going through your account and deleting or untagging anything negative, like pictures, comments, posts, videos, applications, and games. Sometimes, you might have gotten a friend request, a game request that's totally ridiculous, and it's still sitting there from maybe 10 years ago. Just go through those things and delete them. Or I think back in the day when Facebook first came out, there were tons of different quizzes that you could do online. They still stick on your profile, so people can still see it. There's groups that you might have joined. You want to make sure that you're not in a group that could offend somebody or just make you look negative in any way. Contacts friends. Sadly, over time, sometimes we drift away from some of our friends, or there's just some friends that you might be embarrassed of. You want to maybe take them off your Facebook. It's really not worth it to have that circle of people around you online, because people will probably see those. You might think, well, I don't see this person. I just see them maybe once a year or something like that. So he's not really my inner circle. But what do people see online? They see that you're friends with this person, and it seems like it is someone that you might be seeing on a regular basis or once a year, whatever that is. So if you've never done this before, it does take a bit of time to complete, but it's worth it in the end. So make sure you do that maybe, every few months.
So the next one is really important. Adjust and review your privacy settings. So as we mentioned before, Googling yourself, seeing what's out there, it's really important that, the right people see the information that you want. So this is important for any social media that you're on. There is going to be a settings kind of page where you can go into it and set your privacy settings so that, even on Facebook, it's only your friends see it. And you can even hide your profile sometimes as well, right? But you just want to make sure that whatever you have as your privacy settings, it's set and it's there and you are in control of it. So if you do want it to be public, maybe, all your content, it's very professional, you want people to see it, then yeah, you can leave it, leave your privacy settings public, but you also want to make sure that you're in control of that. So make sure you're adjusting and reviewing your privacy settings on all the social media that you're on.
The next point here is to highlight your qualifications with real examples, stats or stories about past successes or experiences. So this could work both ways, especially on LinkedIn. If you've gotten a reward or you've been recognized for something, make sure that you post it on LinkedIn. or you have it in your maybe job experience summary, or maybe even in your little biography area that you have on LinkedIn. And even on Facebook, if you are sharing something, maybe share something that, you got an award at work or you achieved something. And I see a lot of people doing that now after we've done social media workshops with them. So, anything that's come up, maybe you can share that. It could be something as little as, getting a gift card or something at the end of the work year because, you did well, or just a card from your boss. There's so many different things. Someone might not be able to write a recommendation for you on LinkedIn, but you could, take a picture of the card and share it. That was a highlight of your day or something like that. But at the same time, be modest. You don't want to be doing that over and over again.
Like all day.
Shelley, you can take the next one.
Yeah, so you can also, as kind of Sonia was saying, you can show off your awards and your volunteer experiences that you have. So if you are volunteering in the community, maybe you can, post that and then share a picture. So say you were at a charity event, or you're, helping with organizing some event for, some organization that you deeply care about what they do, then take a picture and share that you're doing that over the weekend or whatever. It kind of shows that you're involved in the community, and that organizations that are also interested and care about the community as well might want to be able to see that you're doing that, and that might help you in the situation when you're looking for a job. Like, hey, this person like volunteers all the time, and that's kind of our mandate. So this might be a person of interest for us to hire on board for our team. You never know what might happen. Just kind of sharing, your experiences, what it meant to you to volunteer that day, or all of those things might be able to help you with your online presence, and then might even help you match yourself to the company a little bit better.
Thank you, Shelley. That was a great point for sure. The next one is just showcase a good feel or a fit that matches the company workplace culture. So, you want to showcase yourself as the right fit for any company. Any company would be happy to hire you. And when people look at your profile, they should get a good vibe, a good feel off of it. So basically saying nothing negative should be posted on there. So, and that is going to, heading on to the next point, Shelley.
Yeah, so you want to make sure you have a professional image on all your social media. And I would even recommend you have a professional image for all of your social media. That's Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. You want to kind of have that branding. So everywhere everyone kind of goes and sees you online, they know that you kind of put some work into it, that you have this branding, and you have all of this kind of professional image that you're exhibiting for audiences to see, for companies, for candidates, for clients. So as long as you have that professional image, when you take your picture, you might even want to get it done professionally. Honestly, it might be worth it. Or if you have a good friend who's really good with cameras, make sure you're getting like a good backdrop. You're not kind of taking a photo where you look really good and you're standing next to a bunch of people and then you just kind of crop them out. Make sure you're not doing that. Have a professional photo that's an individual professional photo. You can do this outside, or like at a business conference or something like that, where you have a really good background, and you're kind of focusing on your face area and then your shoulders, right? So you kind of want to have that headshot to share online so that people see that you're a professional.
Thank you, Shelley. Again, that was a really good point. And like she said, you don't have to pay money to get a professional photo shoot. I'm sure everyone has a friend that has a good camera. Shelley's my friend who has a really good camera. The next point is show memberships to professional organizations. So if you are part of different groups on LinkedIn, and you're part of different, you have memberships, or you're going to events that these organizations are carrying out, it looks good on you. And even on Facebook, there's an event coming up, a professional event, and you've said that you're attending things like this makes it look like, you're very, you're networking and you're eagerly looking for work, and also makes you look like a professional. And you never know. Sometimes, someone could message you and say, oh, I saw that you're attending this conference next week. It'd be great if we can meet up together. So it's a great way of networking as well.
Perfect. So the next one is display creativity. So this might seem a little strange, like how would I even go about doing that? But you can actually express yourself on your profile on LinkedIn, on Facebook, wherever it is, through your written description. So even when you're describing your profile, you're describing who you are, you can kind of get creative with it. And as long as it's still professional and it focuses on what your goals are and what your plans are for your career, it's something that you can still add creativity to. This might even be the photos you use or the projects or anything, like kind of when we were talking about if you're volunteering for different events or something like that, when you're posting these things, you can add that kind of creativity to it, to the description, or you can have different links to projects or portfolios that you've worked on, or if you have a blog or if you have your own website. All of these things can be things that you're adding onto your profiles and sharing with the world.
Thank you. And last but not least, have good references. Very important to make sure that you're building great relationships with past employers, managers, colleagues, coworkers. You want to make sure that these people are able to be reached out to by potential employers. And a lot of times you think, oh, well, I have, my manager will say good things about me, but you really need to make sure that you tell your manager, your ex-manager, well in advance that an employer will be reaching out to them, and what the job you've applied for and what skills and experience you've talked about in the interview, so that they can relate to that as well. Your references should always know that someone will be reaching out to them. Just telling them once and then using them for the rest of your life is not a good idea. They should know when you're looking for work and when somebody will be contacting them. So they also make sure that they make time for you, because if the employer contacts them, if they've missed a call, you never know how long they're going to wait for them to get back to them.
So now we're heading on to don'ts. All right, so the first one, do not post inappropriate pictures and information, even rude jokes and memes. So I actually love memes. I think they're hilarious, some of them, but that's not something that I'm going to be, sharing and posting all the time. So even if you do have, a meme that you think is funny or something like that, you can always, share privately with your friends. You don't need to kind of broadcast it everywhere. And you do want to make sure that, again, you're auditing what you're posting. So if it's an inappropriate picture, inappropriate joke or something like that, even if you like it, even if you're not the one posting it and someone else posted it and you like it and you make a comment or something, that can still also show that, you're not that professional, or you just don't understand what you should be posting and not posting online or making comments about. And that can really negatively affect you when it comes to your job search. So be really careful of what you're posting or even liking and commenting on.
Thanks, Shelley. The next point here is, do not show poor communication skills such as bad grammar and spelling. You have employers wonder if you'll communicate with their customers like that, or even internally when you're sending staff an email. So, a lot of times we like to use abbreviations for everything, and there's so many new ones that I keep seeing, and I have to Google them because I don't know what they mean. But texting should be with your friends on your phone, but when you're posting anything online, use proper grammar. It doesn't take much. And always check your spellings. You always want to be presentable anywhere you go, whether it's in person or online.
Great. So do not make discriminatory comments. There's no tolerance for this in the workplace or online, and I've heard too many times people posting inappropriate things online and then getting a lot of backlash on it and even losing their jobs. I think there was a video of someone who made some comment behind like a newscaster, and they ended up losing their jobs because they were making discriminatory comments. So you really want to be careful and do not make those comments at all, because it's not acceptable, and it's there's no tolerance for that type of comment and behavior.
And do not post about illicit drugs, alcohol abuse, or excessive partying. This is not what you want your potential boss to see because,
Yeah.
I mean, this is something that you maybe shouldn't be proud of anyway. So
Hmm.
don't want to post anything to do with drugs. Or I know, like, in Canada, I think it's tomorrow, the legalization of marijuana, and everyone might have their beliefs, and they want to share how they feel about it. So be very careful, when you're talking about it. If you're posting too much about it, if you're really excited for it, that says something about yourself as well. So um, just be careful when you're posting about such things online, or even talking about it in person.
So another thing you shouldn't be doing is bad mouthing employers or coworkers. So I know, you go to work, or you one day you might have a day with someone and they're, being annoying, or they're bothering you, or you're just frustrated that, they didn't do their work. Don't go online and say, oh, my coworker's so annoying. He's been pissing me off all day. Or my boss is like such a stupid boss, or saying something ridiculous like that, because it can definitely 100% come back to haunt you. And they'll wonder if you're saying that about even colleagues that you have a good relationship with. You never know what people are going to think if you just kind of make those comments so casually, especially when it's not really appropriate for the workplace. So be careful. If you're stressed out, talk to somebody that you don't work with, and keep it in person. And you can always rant, and sometimes we have those situations, but just make sure you're not affecting your social media with these types of comments and bad mouthing employers and things like that.
Do not talk about religion or politics online, because that creates a lot of backlash online, and there's endless comments. I know this is the
Mm-hmm.
two hot topics that people love talking about. So that's something that you shouldn't be even speaking about in the workplace either. There, people even say try not to talk about sports, because you never know, you might be offended, what you might be offending. You might be a very strong supporter of a team that someone else isn't, and it just causes a little bit of, it could be all fun, but it could lead to some kind of distress, or an
Mm-hmm.
argument sometimes. So religion or politics should not be discussed online, even in person in the workplace either.
Okay, don't post during work hours. I think that's kind of obvious. If you're already at work and your boss sees your social media have all these notifications that you're posting this and posting that, unless it's part of your job, unless you're social media marketing intern or whoever you are, if you're working that kind of department, then sure, it's okay to be posting online. But as long as it's professional and it's under the marketing brand for your company. But yeah, you do want to be careful that you're not sending memes to all your coworkers and distracting them, or typing on their Facebook walls during the day, because people will notice, and it's kind of distracting for other people, and it's not something that you should be doing during the work day too. It can get you in some trouble, so be careful with that.
For sure. Do not share confidential information about an employer. And this is really important, because you might just do it because you're proud of where you work at, and you just want to share something about that company. They might not be able to trust you again with sensitive information if they see posts like this. So keep work at work. You don't need to bring it home or post about it online. Even when I feel like when there's a job opening at work and you share it on LinkedIn, even that sometimes is frowned upon. So you want to make sure with your employer before you do something like that, you're sharing anything to do with the workplace.
Awesome. Okay, so to the next section, these are some questions you should ask yourself before posting anything online. So you want to ask yourself, whatever you're posting, does it meet the social media policy? So most organizations have official social media policies that you probably received when you were hired. So if you are working somewhere, maybe double check that. Don't assume you know what the policy says. Many employees have been fired for not following company social media regulations. So make sure you know and follow employer or client requirements, because that's really unfortunate and not something that we like to hear, and something that we definitely want to ensure that everyone is following.
You want to check if it hurts your company's reputation. So if you're posting something, no matter how many disclaimers you put on your account, such as these views are my own, certain content and behavior will negatively impact your employer. So if your bio states where you work, your personal account represents your employer. So, if you're working somewhere, like for example, if I start sharing negative posts about a toxic workplace and a boss that I don't get along with and trouble at work, I'm sure that someone at my workplace will catch on to that and say that I am hurting my company's reputation by posting such things on LinkedIn. So that's something to be careful as well.
So next is, does it help my company's marketing? So employee advocacy is an important strategy. Have a positive impact on your company's image, and when you can advocate for your brand in social. So you want to be thinking about, again, what the social media policy is, and then whether or not you're posting something that can help your company's marketing, or maybe if it's not going to help. So make sure you're connecting with the right people, perhaps in the marketing department, before you do want to post anything that's related to work. That might be a good kind of option, just to make sure that you're following the policies and the regulations for social media.
Would my boss or client be happy to see what I've posted? You may not have friended your boss or client, but a coworker may have, and your post is only a share or screen grab away. So even private accounts are never fully private. So, you might think that you don't have your boss on your social media, but you've got your coworker. All they have to do is take a screenshot with your name on it and, send it somewhere else. So you never know. And stuff like this has happened so many times and it just starts off as an innocent joke or something, and it just goes throughout the whole organization. So be very careful.
So another question you want to ask yourself is, am I being fair and accurate? So everyone is entitled to their personal opinion, but if your opinion tends to always be unfounded and seems to have an agenda, it might reflect negatively upon you. So criticism is welcome when it's constructive, and opinion should be backed by evidence. So you just want to make sure that, if you are sharing your personal opinion, or you are sharing about something, you want to make sure you're being fair and accurate. So you don't want to just kind of be making things up, or you're not really sure about it, you just heard it somewhere and you just kind of repeat what you heard without looking at the facts and the statistics and whether or not the information is correct. So you just really want to be asking yourself if you're being fair and accurate before you post anything online.
Am I being respectful and not malicious? People can get very insensitive, judgmental, and angry in social media posts. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And that does not convey a professional image. So don't post what you wouldn't say in person. Even an outburst in person fades in memory, but a malicious post is there forever. So sometimes we like to hide behind our screens. So there's something that I want to say to someone, and I might not be able to say them to their face, but it's easier to say it through social media or text it to someone. It's funny, like my sister and I, whenever we get into an argument, she'd rather text me how she feels than say it to my face. So I understand there's a lot of people like that. So, but remember, if you post something, when you're in that moment of anger, it will stay there forever. Like you can delete it, but somebody might have taken a screenshot, or it's still there somewhere. So make sure that you're careful of that as well.
Okay, and lastly, does it respect intellectual property? So not everything on the internet is free. So you want to make sure you check for or get permission to post company or client brand assets and content. As an employee or contractor, you're granted access to privileged and confidential information. Don't just assume that anything that's part of your company is fine to share. Don't disclose non-public company or client information as well. And you really want to just be careful in general. A while ago, when I was working in one of my first jobs, I was helping out with setting up an event, and I thought it would be really cute if I, had flyers around the building with like, Homer Simpson on it. And before I did anything, my boss was like, "Oh, you cannot put that around the building." I'm like, "But why?" And obviously, it's intellectual property, and it's not something that we can just kind of post around because it does belong to somebody else, right? So that information, that picture, whatever it is. So you want to be really, really careful and make sure that you do have that permission before you are posting anything.
This actually brings us to the end of our presentation. So we will now be heading to our Q&A session. So the first question here we have is from Igor. Wants to know, how do you get through ageism? So, I mean, we can generally answer that question. It's not really related to social media, but if you have any questions related to social media, we will be more than happy to answer them. Um, how to get through ageism. So it depends on if you're very young, you want to make sure that you are showing all the skills and experience that are needed for the job and be confident to show that you have all of them and show all your volunteer experience, relate all your experience you've had in school or in your part-time job and related to the job that you're applying to, and look professional, dress professional, and basically make sure that you're look like the right fit for the job.
Yeah.
If you're a lot older, you might want to make sure that you emphasize on the fact that how much longer you hope to work for, and show them how up to speed you are on technology and upcoming trends and workplaces. Um, it would, and then the same thing, make sure your resume is targeted towards a job and you're showing the same skills and experience needed for the job. And maybe be positive, be confident, and engage yourself in things that are going on in the world around you, so you're up to date not just with technology but whatever's trending on social media. Be independent, volunteer. So it's pretty much the same thing, whether you're on whichever spectrum of age you're at.
And companies nowadays are looking to be hiring more diversely. So kind of these things like ageism, hopefully it's kind of going away, and then that employers won't be prejudiced and discriminatory against you based on your age. So I really think that, again, like as Sonia was saying, you want to focus on your experiences, what you can offer the company, and either side, show that you're motivated, reliable, dependable, that you're, ready to go, and that you can work with, different ages as well and different populations. So really kind of stressing those kind of things might be able to help you kind of get through that. And a lot of the time, ageism is, made worse by ourselves. So, the way that we look, the way that, what age we are, all of those things can also just come from our own confidence. So work on, being positive, focusing on those things that are important, which is, your experience, your skills, your qualifications, and highlight those. If an organization is going to be ageist against you, you know what? That's probably not an organization you want to work for anyways. So make sure you're looking for that right fit for you as well, and not just whether or not you're a fit for that company.
Thank you, Shelley. The next question is from Priyanka and wants to know, where can I find groups to join and grow my network in the legal sector in Toronto? So just as we were talking about social media, you can start online. So there's tons of different groups on LinkedIn and Facebook that you can join that are equivalent to something in the legal sector in Toronto or the GTA, or even all of Canada. There's different associations, law associations in Canada that you can join. If you're looking for free events, you can check out Eventbrite, and they might have something coming up soon or later. And you can actually look for mentors online as well. So you can go on LinkedIn, look for legal professionals, and just tell them that you want them to be part of your your network, or
Mm-hmm.
you just want to job shadow someone one day, or you want to do an informational interview, and
Mm-hmm.
not everyone's going to respond back positively, so you might have to
Mm-hmm.
reach out to several people until somebody responds back and says, well, yes, we can help you. And I know that we don't have any bridging programs or anything like that of that sort in at Access, but we could help you with, to set you up with a professional mentor. When you say law, I mean, we have connections with banks and different industries, and there might be someone who's working in their legal department who would want
Mm-hmm.
to mentor you as well. So come into one of our offices, and I'm sure that somebody will be able to help you as well.
Awesome.
Shelley, you want to take the next question?
Uh,
So,
so Fresnel had a job interview and asked for reference and was asked for references on the spot. How would you advise following up, and how long after the interview? So just kind of, this is for you to note from now into the future. If you are going in for an interview, you want to already have your references with you, just to kind of show that you're prepared. You want to have had these conversations with your references prior to. So you would have asked them, hey, so and so, if it was your old boss or, your old coworker or something, just a heads up, I am applying and I did get an interview. I'm just going to put you down as a reference. Is that okay? So just kind of giving them that heads up, and make sure that it is going to be a good reference, not someone you just kind of casually worked with and, said hi to in the hallways. You want to make sure that your references is someone that knows you well, and that they will say positive things about you. So if you want to prepare even more, you can even kind of send them the typical things that references generally ask. So that's, how long have you worked with this person? What capacity were you working with them? Were you their boss? Were you, a colleague? All of these things you want to freshen up with your reference to make sure that they know. So if you didn't do this time around, but next time you will, you can just make sure that you have your references on a separate document, same header as your resume, all of that stuff, and then you just want to list your references there and their contact information there, and you can actually email them to the employer that interviewed you, and then they should be able to call your references from there. So if you wanted to follow up with that, generally speaking, you would want to ask that question during the interview. So, something along the lines of, what are the next steps in the hiring process? And usually they'll say, oh, call us back in 2 months. We're still in, or 2 weeks, we're still interviewing, et cetera, et cetera. But I would usually say about maybe 2 weeks would be, if you haven't heard anything, that you can start following up.
thank you, Shelley. The next question I have is from Kazi. It wants to know, how do we effectively network using social media sites such as LinkedIn? And I did answer that question during the webinar, but again, or just before, Shelley here. Best thing to do is, again, join as many groups that you can on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, and then you can see the people that are in the groups, and you can check out their profiles, and then you can send them a personal message on the side saying that you're interested in networking with them, or you're interested in
Mm-hmm.
maybe meeting them as in for an informational interview. You were very impressed by their profile. They've achieved all these things, and a lot of times you can tell just by reading somebody's profile, are they willing to help others, or just by all the volunteer work that they've done, or maybe some people actually write down that they're open to helping people. A lot of the guest speakers that we get for our webinars are always open to helping people. And I don't know how they find the time to respond back to all these messages and meet up with these people, but a lot of people do give their time and energy and share their experience with people who are, willing to grow in their careers or start a new career in Canada. So we have been very lucky to have, and think about ACCES alumni, so people who have been with ACCES and they've been through our programs and they've gotten really good jobs after. They always want to come back and give back and talk to our clients after as well. So there's tons of people like that out there as well. Shelley, you want to take the next
Awesome.
question?
Yeah, so Neha's wondering if employers check Facebook and the criteria they have to check the profile. So yes, absolutely. As we learned earlier, 70% of employers use social media to screen candidates before hiring. So Facebook is definitely one of the most popular networking sites that we have around. So definitely, they are checking Facebook. So again, we were talking about making sure that you adjust your privacy settings and that you're careful of what you post online, and you're auditing what your online profile is. So again, they are looking for any reason not to hire you. They're looking at what other people are saying about you, whether or not you have an online persona, all of these things they're checking online. So just making sure that your Facebook profile is up to par and is professional. So you want to make sure that you do that audit of your own social media accounts.
Thank you,
Next
Shelley.
one.
Tejas has a question, wants to know, is extra experience a roadblock in entry-level jobs? We get this question all the time, and it's yes and no. So if it's an entry-level job is asking for, let's say, 3 years of experience, and you've got 8 years of experience, you're focused on the 3 years of experience that they're asking for and what they're asking for. You don't have to show all your past experience. As long as you're focusing on whatever it is that they're looking for. And you also don't want to show that, I mean, it depends on your resume. If your resume comes off as something like, you're looking for a senior manager position, you obviously will not be hired for that entry level position. So you want to make sure that you're targeting your resume just like the job ad, and whatever it might be simpler. Like if you are looking for an entry level job, you might have to simplify what's on your resume to target it for the job.
Perfect. So next question is, are there any social media groups of people who are seeking employment in Toronto which can help in growing the network? So off the top of my head, I don't have any, but because social media is so huge and so large, there are basically groups for anything and everything. So 100% there will be groups for people who are seeking employment. And again, like, you want to be following the industries and the sectors that you're interested in and the companies that you're interested in. So with a little bit of research, you want to be on LinkedIn following the companies. You want to be on Twitter following those companies that you're interested in working for, that are part of your industry and part of your expertise, so that you can get that knowledge and that information right off the bat. And again, as Sonia's saying, in those LinkedIn groups, you'll be able to find people who might have the expertise and are on the career path that you want to be on. So these are going to be the people that you want to reach out to. They're also, even on our profile, you can follow us on Facebook as well, and Twitter and Instagram. We share, we're a huge network as well. So if you haven't already, get in touch with us, and we'll find ways to help you, network and expand your opportunities as well.
Thank you, Shelley. And it takes as much as just searching up jobs Toronto group on LinkedIn, and you'll see tons of different groups on there. And as Shelley mentioned, ACCES Employment we have our Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram account as well that you can follow. And if you come in person, you might be able to attend. October is full of networking events. Every single day, there might be 2 or 3 events that are going on. So, and there's different companies coming up. There's a long list of companies that are coming in to network with our clients. So come into our office and take advantage of that as well. Next question is from Neha. She's saying, in LinkedIn, do job seekers have to provide the detailed description of their experience? Yes and no. A lot of people just copy and paste their resume into their experience. That's not something that you want to do, but you want to show your expertise and your skill set over there. You might want to mention some accomplishments
Mm-hmm.
that you've had, but it's not a copy paste version of your resume at all.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, you
to
want to be posting like the major accomplishments that you've had and, special projects that you worked with. I mean, you want to make sure that it's relevant again to the job and the industry that you're applying for as well.
Yes, and especially in your profile section, like right on the top that goes under your name, write something that makes you stand out. It's not something like looking for a job. Maybe get
Mm-hmm.
rid of that and write about what you can offer to companies or what you do offer to companies or organizations. Shelley, you want to take the next question?
So Alu has a question. How can a new immigrant secure a job from outside of Canada? So this is a question that we actually get all the time. And again, generally speaking, you can be online, get prepared. So do your research again on social media. Use it as a resource for you to understand what the labor market looks like, to understand, what companies are hiring, what companies are in Canada, and all of these things. So if you are planning on kind of coming here soon, also recognize and realize that moving and settling takes a lot of effort and energy out of you. So you want to make sure that you are prepared and you are ready and you have everything kind of set in terms of your housing. If you have to organize daycare, if you have a place to stay, if you have your health card, all of these things, you want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row before you are applying to jobs. Because what is something that we see happen often and is unfortunate is people come here, they get an interview, and then they don't have any of their identification, they don't have all of their papers and their documents ready, and then it gets backlogged, and then they can't go to the interview, and all of these things kind of just get in the way. So you want to make sure that you are mentally prepared, that you have all your documents and everything ready, before you are looking for a job. But like anything, you want to be online researching, tailoring your resume, and making sure that you're ready for that transition. Do you have anything to add, Sonia?
No, that was good. You covered everything. I will be talking more about our pre-arrival services as well. So we do have pre-arrival program that you can apply for, and you'll have an employment consultant and an employer liaison who helps develop jobs for you as well. So you can get that kind of support before you come to Canada. But landing and securing a job while you're outside of Canada is something, as Shelley said, you don't want to take that stress on and put that pressure on yourself, because there will be a lot to do when you come here. And if you're taking time off work to do those things, you probably end up losing that job anyway. So it's better to get everything organized as soon as you get here and then get started with your job search. Um, Next question is by Tejas. He's an urban planner and wants to know if there's any bridging program for his field. I don't think we have anything like that. The closest would probably be engineering connections, and I'm sure that's not something that falls under that category. But we can help you with your job search, so you're more than welcome to come to any of our 5 locations, and someone will be able to help you with finding work in your career, in your sector.
Okay, so next question, Fadra is wondering if we do CV or resume revisions and offer feedback. Absolutely, we do. So you want to kind of come in and sit with one of our employment consultants, and they actually go through one-on-one what your needs are, what kind of job you're looking for, and go through all of that with you to see really what your specific, resume would look like, and help you target your resume to the companies that you're applying for. So definitely get in touch with us if you haven't already, and definitely someone would be able to help support with that.
Thank you. Next question is from Mao Shin. Wants to know, do online courses in digital media, web design, etc., are they recognized with Canadian employers? Yes, they are. They might not be accredited by university in Canada, but at the same time, it depends on the job. If they're looking for Canadian certification, then you're going to have to get Canadian
Mhm.
certification. But if the job, and I'm guessing in digital media, web design, it really matters on that what you can do, what you're capable of doing, your skill set and your experience. So it's better to focus on that, unless they're asking for a Canadian certification in your area.
Awesome. So next question, Priyanka is wondering if she's looking for a secretary position, should she mention all other qualifications in the resume? So in your resume, you just want to make sure always, whatever you're applying for, that it matches the job description of the position that you're hiring, that you're looking for, and you're hoping to be hired for. So you want to make sure that anything and everything on your resume makes sense and is relevant to the job. Of course, there's some things that you might have on there that aren't, you know, the most relevant. So you want to make sure that what is most relevant is on there and highlighted in the best way possible. And you're looking at keywords, kind of matching the keywords that, you know, the job description has, and inserting it into your resume as well, because there are a lot of uh, websites out there for career sites where they look through those keywords. So you want to make sure that you have matches with the job description, definitely. So if you should mention all other qualifications, if you mean, you know, your education and your experience, then definitely you want to put what's relevant on there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This does bring us to the end of our webinar. There's a lot of questions people that are asking, and I think a lot of them could be answered if you come in person. So any courses you need to take or certifications or resume help, we help with that in person. So come to any one of our offices and we will be able to help you. And again, thank you all for your participation today. And if you want any additional resources, you know, on support for job search, such as resume writing, interview tips, just getting to know the Canadian job market a little better, and if you've recently gotten a job, how to stay there, how to be the right fit, check out our online hub at ACCES. So if you go to our website and click on ACCES, and if you're using your phone, ACCES will be on right at the bottom on our left hand side menu, and check out whatever we have online. We've got past webinars there as well, and I'm sure that a lot of your questions would be able to be answered through there as well. Again, thank you all for your participation. We are very much active on all of our social media, which is LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter, but we are recently on Instagram as well. So add us on Instagram as well and follow us. And I just want to thank everyone for participating in today's webinar. Thank you, Shelley, for sharing all these great insights. And we'll see you soon, hopefully on Friday for the webinar.
Okay, bye everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day or evening ahead.